We can now look at explaining some of the verses related to the question of what the responsibility is that Islam places upon our shoulders. So the first verse is from Surah Al-Anfal, the chapter of the spoils of war, the eighth chapter of Quran, and it's verse number 72. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse says, "Indeed, those who have believed and migrated and struggled with their possessions and persons in the way of God, and those who gave them shelter and help, they are the awliya of one another. As for those who have believed but did not migrate, you have no duty of protection in relation to them whatsoever, until they migrate. Yet if they ask for your help for the sake of religion, it is incumbent upon you to help them, except against the people with whom you have a treaty, and God watches what you do." So the verse starts with, "Indeed, those who have believed and migrated." This is about the time of the Prophet. I do not mean, and Imam Khamenei has the same position on this, that it has no relevance at other times. I'm not saying that, as it also contains a very important general principle. But it relates to the time of the Prophet insofar as it explicitly mentions the issue of hijrah, of migration to an Islamic society. We'll come to that shortly. However, the general principle that it discusses, this is universal and applicable through all the ages. In those days, there were Muslims who believed in the Prophet and his teachings, but they were not ready to leave Mecca behind. They would say, "Why should we leave our home? Our businesses are in Mecca. Our friends and family are in Mecca. Must we leave all of this behind to follow the Prophet? Why? Isn't this about belief? I believe. 100 times I say it in my heart, on my tongue quietly so people don't hear. There is only one God and you are the messenger of God. If the Prophet wants me to pray, I will pray. If the Prophet wants me to fast, I will fast for 3 days, for 6 days. But why should I go to Medina?" This is how some people thought at the time. But at the time, migration was necessary. The Islamic society was newly formed, so it needed them to go and strengthen it. They had to protect it from its enemies. That is why migrating was a necessary condition for faith at that time. Indeed, those who have believed and migrated and struggled with their possessions and persons in the way of God, and those who gave them shelter and help, they are the awliya of one another. These are the true believers who fit together like bricks in a wall. Go and look at any building, any structure, and see how the bricks fit together. See how the beams fit together, how the different parts of the structure cohere together into a single unified whole. The believers are like this in the Tawheed-oriented society. They are interlinked and joined to one another with unbreakable bonds. This is what the term awliya means. This is what wilaya means, to be bound together with firm, unshakable bonds. As for those who have believed, but what about those who have faith, who believe in their hearts that you are the Prophet sent by God, but did not migrate, but did not fulfill the duties created by the faith? You have no duty of protection in relation to them whatsoever until they migrate. You have no bond or link with them until they fulfill the duties created by the faith, or in the case of this example, until they migrate. As long as they remain over there, they do not migrate, they are like strangers to you. You have no connection or brotherhood in Islam to them whatsoever. These are heavy words, but this is Quran. However, there is another rule that applies over here. Those who are over there and have not migrated yet, if another group comes and makes war on them and they ask for your help, then you must go and help them. This is because they share your belief and are under attack. If a group of Muslims is at war with a group of disbelievers, it is incumbent upon you to help them. This is a baseline rule within Islam.